This episode, it's a perfect written-off drinking game. Take a swig anytime Mark mentions the seminal horror film The Ring, and you'll be blitzed in no time. Settle in for our most off-the-track, kinda, sorta scathing episode yet of Written Off. What did you do? What the fuck did you do? You pushed a button. That's what you did. You pushed a button on this episode, and now you're listening to Written Off. I am your co-host. No, I'm not even your co-host. I'm your fucking host. Jesus, it's one of those episodes already. Look, I'm going to do this again. This is fucking bullshit. Jesus Christ. How about I start off normal for a change?
You do how you feel.
Well, considering tonight's...
You should start the way Mirrors starts, just like...
I'm going to do this intro the way the lead actor of this movie does the entire film. Welcome to Written Off. It's good to have you here. My name's Bradley Freeman. Damn it! Stop doing that thing in the corner. With me is the co-host, Mark.
I do wonder if this, if we ever do release the video of this recording, what people will think. They'll definitely think... No, I don't. What would they think? They'll think these are two people approaching this from a slightly different angle.
You know what? I hope we never release any video because that's obviously the way the industry is going with podcasts. You release your podcast, then on YouTube you release your video version, and you try and catch both channels of views and likes and comments. But there's something so shitty and simple about, it's audio. Quite frankly, I don't want anyone fucking seeing my face when we record this with my sweaty forehead and my...
Well, I think unfortunately, due to the fact that we always have to record in my, not early morning, but in my morning on a day off, and you're, quite late evening, neither of us are probably at our tip-top best.
You hear that, mates? You're not getting us at our tip-top best.
No, absolutely. Well...
Thanks for listening, by the way.
Sorry about that. I'm not saying what we produce isn't our best. I'm just saying nothing. I don't think, and actually it's a good point. I don't think a lot of good art comes from a comfortable environment, does it?
Truth.
Most artists that start to produce shit is when they're too comfortable. I would say. I think you need adversity for that creative spark.
Well, adversity is exactly what this movie offers today, folks. Before we get into that, as always, we like to start this podcast with some basic chit chat. Mark, what have you been watching recently? What have you been doing recently? How have you been?
Basic chit chat. I spent a lot of time thinking about this basic chit chat, I'll have you know. I did watch Nosferatu. It is a beautiful film. A lot of it is very beautiful, obviously. The man thinks a lot about how things look, thinks a lot about structure.
Robert Eggers.
Yeah, composition is magnificent. And he's from that school of theatre directors turned movie directors, like our friend Sam Mendes. And I think a lot of people, when they saw, American Beauty looks a bit different now, but something like Road to Perdition with a lot of those really beautiful nighttime scenes. And, I think they're quite different directors, but again, you've come from theatre and you've come into cinema and you're very, very interested in the visual. Any Dracula story or Dracula-esque story, for me personally, the most interesting thing is always when Harker or whatever variant thereupon arrives at the castle. How the different directors portray that, to me, is that, and most of what's memorable to me about these films is that arrival and that reaction to the Count's first appearance. So obviously Gary Oldman sort of shape-shifting camp, or Bela Lugosi, coming down the staircase or whatever. I think that's where we've got most of me personally, got most of my imagery from. And then he does the sequence in which Nicholas Hoult arrives at the castle. I can tell you that me and my wife were literally laughing out loud. Now, I'm not saying that we were laughing out loud because it was necessarily funny, but just the situation is so absurd, as it should be. The whole, the premise is quite absurd. And you just imagine yourself in his position, just think, oh my God, like it's so there's this roaring fireplace and you can feel the fire and you can see this guy sweating as this huge looming shadow sort of circles around him. So I think my issue with all of these films is that's the peak of the film for me. In every version of Dracula, I've read Dracula, he's gonna come, and so to speak. And in this film, he literally does. And that's it. And to me, after that, it's a bit flat. I'll be honest. I find most versions of Dracula to be a bit flat once you get past that initial rush. As I felt the same about the book, and I felt the same about virtually every version of it. So yeah, I'm not saying don't watch it because it is gorgeous, and I think he'll always make films that are worth looking at. But talking about it now makes me realize I really haven't thought about it in the week since I've seen it.
So you saw Nosferatu. That same day, I watched a bizarre double bill,
Mm.
never to be repeated. I watched Renfield
Oh yeah.
and Good Morning Vietnam back to back.
Oh, okay.
Renfield, the entire time I was watching it, I was constantly asking myself, who is this for?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
A $65 million budget. That is about relationship abuse told through a comedic lens with Dracula and Renfield, and punchy action fight wire fu sequences and cartoonish gore. I think it made what, $12 million total or something,
Yeah,
$20 million.
yeah.
Like, of course, who is this for? It's not scary. The comedy is fine, but a $65 million comedy, okay. The gore stops the kids from seeing it. The action sequences, I don't know who the fuck asked for Renfield action sequences, funnily enough, starring Nicholas Hoult.
Yeah, yeah.
And even the actors, like great actors, like you've got Ben Schwartz, who I adore. You've got Nicolas Cage, just in the role of a lifetime, having a great time as Dracula. So it's a lot of noticeable faces, but like, does Nicholas Hoult put asses on seats?
Yeah, oh, that's good lighting. See, it's a shame they can't see that lighting. Look at that.
The light of God is shooting through the background into the camera, illuminating Mark's hair. Gorgeous.
We get some good sun. No, that's a complete lie.
Maybe he's born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline.
That's a reference I make all the time. Falls on deaf ears at work. No one knows what I'm talking about.
Does it?
Yeah,
Okay.
it does. Yeah, that and
Fuck him.
like you've just stepped out of a salon.
Yep.
I don't know with Nicholas Hoult. He's not because again, he's not bad in this.
He's not bad in anything. I think he's fantastic. But I mean, between that and Juror number two, hasn't been a good year for him.
Obviously, someone somewhere has crunched the numbers and worked out that he needs to be in as many films as possible. You want to talk about Renfield, or was there another?
Good Morning Vietnam.
And Good Morning. Yes, yes.
Coincidentally, directed by Barry Levinson of Sphere fame, or lack thereof.
What's the opposite of fame?
I can't think of a movie, maybe you can. I can't think of a movie made in the last 5 or 10 years that so obviously builds its entire core around the being of its star, top to bottom. The movie was good, but there's just scenes upon gags upon asides that just scream, go ahead, Robin, just do your thing. And he just goes. I read an interview with him where he said that basically, yeah, 95% of the booth radio scenes were just him just spitballing. And you can tell. And it just goes on and on and on. And it's Robin Williams. So of course it is delightful to behold. But there's not much of a movie. It's just, well, we've got this scene and this scene and this scene, and they're good.
Yeah.
And they tell a story. But between those scenes, let's just throw this shit together and hope it sticks like glue.
That kind of charisma. Jim Carrey would be probably the guy that took that mantle on for a bit, but it's just not done anymore, is it? There's not anyone like that really that would be given a role and let to run with it in that way. There's like little bits in the newer Jumanjis where Kevin Hart is kind of given little bits to do which feel like this is just running on the power of his career. Oh no, I quite like Kevin Hart. In spite of myself, I quite like him, but I just don't think they've obviously decided, whoever they is, that Nicholas Hoult in, charisma, comedian, forces of nature out. I wanted to raise something with you because I was thinking about this with regards to today's film, with regards to Nosferatu. I'm also watching, and I do want to discuss in future, I'm watching John Carpenter's The Fog, which I've never seen before. As a writer, what films, what horror films do you think lean more on the writing than they do the atmosphere? Because I would say there aren't that many horror films where I sit there and think, well, that's brilliantly written. Generally, with horror, it is about the music, the atmosphere, the angles, the sound design, the visual design, and the writing. I kind of think just needs to get the fuck out the way. It's not like a book, obviously. Let the rest of it, because I sometimes think with Stephen King, the problem is it's written to death, isn't it? There are lots and lots and lots of pages. So you've got to get rid of a lot of that to make a film, obviously. But I think the writing gets in the way of the film. You understand what I'm saying? It's not like other genres where, like a great noir or something, where yes, it's atmosphere, but that story is the gripping thing and that way that unfolds. With a lot of horror, as I messaged you the other day, it's the vibes. And I was just wondering what you feel like. I mean, you've written books, obviously horror books, but if you're a screenwriter coming to horror, I kind of think you just need to get the fuck out the way.
Let's say there are two kinds of horror movies. I know it's reductive and I know it's stupid, but let's just say there are two kinds of horror movies. Tell you what, you're a studio head and you're going to give me money to write a screenplay. And you give me two options. Very helpfully, you announce to me, okay, one screenplay, I want it to have some gore. I want it to have that chase sequence. I want it to be scary. I want it to be just fucking freaky. And I want it to be set in a small town. Boom. I'm going to write a very specific type of horror movie for that. And unfortunately, you've probably seen that movie 800 times already.
Yeah.
All I can do is try and create some interesting death scenes, some fun, cool dialogue, nice characters. And then hopefully the director and the director of photography can really put something interesting in there.
Yeah.
Because over the last couple of days, I've been watching, no surprise, straight to streaming action movies. And it's so obvious when a director is workmanlike.
Yeah.
And when a director is fighting to be different.
Yeah, yeah.
And unfortunately, that first kind of horror movie I described would be that workmanlike horror movie. You can easily imagine the trailer right now. And you and your wife or your husband or your best friend, you're going to go and you're going to pay your money and you know what you're going to get. So that's the first one. The second one, I believe, is when you have something to say. And I'm going to use a specific example here. You and we've both seen this movie, His House. Do you remember His House?
I do remember it, yeah.
That movie had a very clear thing to say.
Yeah, it did, yeah.
And the horror is just there to prop it up. Like, I can still remember, it's not even a scary scene. It's Matt Smith talking to the Sudanese couple, South Sudanese couple. I can't remember the line, but he says something like, I thought you were one of the good ones.
Yeah, yeah.
And that line is so insidious. One of the good ones. Ooh, it got really under my skin. I still think about it today. The way he looks at them, there's no pity, there's no malice. It's just, I thought you were one of the good ones. It's,
yeah, maybe I don't know if I'm really eloquently articulating it, because I do think, yeah, as you say, I'm very broad, because I like the horror detective-y thing. And funnily enough, that's what Mirrors kind of is. I like Longlegs more than you do. I like Ring, Silence, like chillers or thriller horror thrillers. I like them, which do rely on a story. And I think Mirrors, we're going to have to talk about Ring when we do get to it, because obviously it saw the J horror and was like, right, and fair enough. But I do think that, you and I have probably seen quite a lot of horrors from Japan which don't fucking work. And really, the ones that are popular are the exception, actually. It's not just like everything Japan did. I was amazing.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's just for me. And again, with this film, some of the, we haven't even introduced it yet, but some of the dialogue and some of it's painful.
Wait, you're talking about Mirrors or you're talking about Nosferatu?
Mirrors.
Okay.
I'm sort of transitioning. And I was just thinking, as I'm watching Mirrors, how would this be scarier or how would this be more effective? Because obviously that's part of what you ask me every week and I never answer, for anyone who's actually listened to more than one episode. But I just felt write less, write less scenes, less characters, less dialogue, write less. Then I was thinking, well, can I apply that same logic to other horror films that I haven't really enjoyed? And I felt, yes, I could. But then that's maybe just me. write less, get more out, get it out, get it out, get it out, get it out. I don't need it. And all you're doing is making it less scary and less effective. Yes, you've got to have characterization, but I think in horror, it's not really that important because if you've got a good actor with good expression, they don't really need to speak that much and you'll have empathy for them. Like the beginning of The Fog, that 12 minutes, I know exactly what that town's like. I know exactly basically what those people are like. Got it. Thank you. I wouldn't even really need them to say anything from there on. Not really.
I mean, The Fog was one of Carpenter's earlier movies, right? But in 12 minutes, he introduces a whole town,
Yeah, yeah.
whereas that Salem's Lot that we saw
Yeah, yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking of. Yeah.
had 2 hours and completely failed.
I hypothesized to myself last night, which is something I don't do regularly, don't worry, that when you've got King, you feel like you've got to do it justice because he does write characters well. He really writes them. There's a lot of writing involved. So when you're adapting it, you probably as a director, you feel you can't just do that. Obviously, the way Kubrick did Shining went down like a lead balloon with Mr. King, and I understand why. Because from his point of view, hang the fuck on. Where's that and that and that and that? And I want my fucking animals, my topiary animals coming to life. But actually, I think most people would say, yeah, but it's a lot better in it because you took away a lot.
Did you ever watch Perfect Blue? Did I show you Perfect Blue? Animated movie, the anime.
We've talked about it, but I don't think I've ever seen it.
Perfect Blue is the same as The Shining, in which the book, or I think it was a book or something, Satoshi Kon, the director, was like, yeah, all right, I'll do what I want with it. And then made something even better because he wasn't interested in the suspense or thrillery aspects as much as he was interested in identity and denial and psychosis.
Yeah.
So much so, obviously, Perfect Blue was a hit. 5 or 6 years later, I think it was a movie or a Japanese TV production company were like, no, wait, we're going to do the book justice, or the original idea, text, manga, whatever it was. We're going to do it justice. And it completely flopped because just like the Shining TV series, miniseries that legendary Mick Garris worked on, once the doors have been blown open in that way, you can't close them again.
I just came upon me as something to think about. My favorite scene in Psycho is, yes, the shower scene, but more so what follows the shower scene, the cleanup scene. For Hitchcock to have thought, we got to the halfway point almost exactly. We've gone through Janet Leigh. She's gone now. Everyone thought we were following her. Most people would have been like, right, cut away, off to the next part of the story. He has that. And I did time it long ago, how long that scene is of Norman coming back, I'm doing quotation marks in, and then cleaning up and getting rid of the body. There's no words. I think maybe mother calls to him. I can't remember. But there's basically, yeah, what have you done, mother? What have you done? And then he just silently walks around the room and it creates this dread and feeling of where are we going now? What on earth are we doing now? And they imagine if that had been full of dialogue or if they just not had it at all and right, let's get back onto the system. I just think the pauses, it's like, really good music, a lot of really good music. What's effective about it is the pauses between noise. Horror, of all the genre, although as you said earlier, it's not fair because it's such a big genre, I think the spaces are what's most important. And if you get those spaces right, and I personally feel the more of them, the better, or the more effective version of them, the better, then I think you get a horror that lives with you and maybe not just your popcorn, have a jump scare, put your arm around your girlfriend or boyfriend thing. So I'm just throwing it out there, and anyone who is listening, I'd be curious to know what you feel or how you approach horror and what's stayed with you. But I personally would say, I mean, the example you give is a bit different because it's like a social thing. But I personally say generally the dialogue is obviously not what stays with you. Just a thought I had yesterday, which is rare for me.
So my favorite horror movie of all time is Poltergeist. And honestly, if you had to force me to tell you why, I think it's Jerry Goldsmith's score.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, when I write my own horror books, that is what's playing on loop. That score is so otherly. You might be right. Horror isn't about the dialogue.
No, and obviously what we're trying to do and what we're going to attempt to do is from a writing point of view, what went wrong or what we feel went wrong with the film we're talking about today. And I was just wondering how fair that is. I don't know. I mean, in this case, I mean, the dialogue and some of the, hang on a minute, what are the rules of this thing? That are not good, obviously, but just generally, and obviously you as someone who loves horror, likes to write horror, and obviously horror novels are a very different beast, goes without saying. But the funny thing is, I don't think I've ever read a horror book that scared me, even though I have got a very vivid imagination. But for me, all of those words I'm looking at are getting in the way. Do you see what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
I need you to get out of the way, and then I'll have my imagination with assistance from the score, as you say, or of an image, or of a lack of an image, and that'll be me good. So I didn't like, we talked about Long Legs quite a long time ago. The end where everything's explained and all that. I'm just like, I was fine with it. I was scared enough. I could probably just have filled some of those bits in, and it doesn't matter if I don't. But then that's just me anyway. I obviously comparing ourselves, I am certainly someone who likes the lack, and I don't feel I need. No, not that you need everything explained, but you love a nicely typewritten thing that comes in a loop, and I do as well. Like Chinatown is a good example of something that I think eventually loops around really well. But
Mm.
with horror in particular, just very, very often think like less, 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 less.
I realized something about myself as an audience member, maybe not so much as a writer, maybe not, I don't know, but as an audience member, it doesn't matter what genre, I need the ending to make sense to me emotionally.
Yeah, emotionally. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah. Thank you for humoring me on that topic. I was very curious because you do come
I
at
love
these
it.
things
I
very
love it.
differently from me. So, yeah, thank you very much.
I love we should have more of these. When the movie we have to talk about is, we could enjoy ourselves by doing a lot of preamble up front.
Go on then. Do the thing we have to do.
For this episode, we're tackling a movie that you might have seen, you probably haven't seen, you may not have heard of, or you have. It's Mirrors. And if you think that's vague, just wait until you've actually seen the movie yourself. Directed by Alexandre Aja, with a screenplay by him and producer friend Gregory Levasseur. I hope I pronounced that right. Based on the South Korean film Into the Mirror, written and directed by Kim Sang-ho. Now, instead of remaking that film, the production team, namely Mr. Gregory and Mr. Alexandre, they decided to throw pretty much all of it out. The doppelgangers, spoilers, in the original film, it's not a demon, probably a better choice. Instead, they went with the story of Ben Carson, a slightly shouty, slightly erratic, and suspended police detective played by Kiefer Sutherland. To prove to his wife that he's on the up and up, he begins working as a night security guard at the Mayflower, a burnt-out, dilapidated department store housing so many mirrors. Faster than you can say, get the fuck out of that haunted death building, he learns the reflections are evil and out to earn the film's R rating.
Very nice. The setup is quite Night of the Museum, isn't it? I mean, it's basically the same thing. I need to get a job. I need to prove. I mean, I quite like Night of the Museum from that point of view because he's not actually trying to get back with her, which I think is quite, shows restraint on the part of the director. But yeah, it's kind of the same thing. I'm going to have to do this thing. And there's a couple of bits, but why are you doing this? He's like, I have to do it. Yeah, I think you set it up quite nicely.
Sadly, Night at the Museum is far more effective at showcasing why Ben Stiller's character wants to do it for him and for his son. This one here, you get this kind of, well, we'll talk about it later on.
It's a curious film. The pacing is very curious.
Where were you when you saw it, / what were you doing? Now, obviously, you've never seen this movie before, so you were just sitting watching Disney Plus, I assume.
Yeah, in the bath, actually.
Perfect. Well, I saw this in cinemas in Japan, 2008. Why, do you ask? Well, because, and I'm certain we've covered this before in the podcast, but for any newbies, look, I am a horror fan. There's a reason most of my books are in the horror genre or horror adjacent. And to be a horror fan is to dog paddle through lakes of shit to find that golden nugget.
Yeah.
That one movie that makes it all worthwhile, that the shit that is clinging to your chest and your hair is no longer a problem because you have that golden nugget. But more than that, I am a Kiefer Sutherland fan.
Oh, yeah.
Circa Japan, 2008, my God, 24 was huge. This is a little bit before your time, but God, 24? Prison Break, 24 in Prison Break
Yeah, yeah.
were huge. You couldn't go anywhere without it. For example, like I went to a bar in the fucking countryside because it was called the Jack Bauer Bar.
In Japan.
Yeah. And
Wow.
it had a painting of a screaming Kiefer holding a gun on the side of the building.
What, 2008? Was it, I
Yep.
got there? God, you were there. Okay. Well, that's a few. Yeah, yeah. By the time I got there, it was wall to wall frozen and let it go and all that shit. So maybe the Bauer Cafe had turned into the Elsa Cafe by then.
Must have. Must have. But yeah, so 24 was massive. So here comes Mirrors. Great.
Mirrors. Yeah.
I was so jazzed because the movie seemed like s'mores to me. Two things, Kiefer and horror, I love smooshed together to make a mutant aberration.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Unfortunately, just like fucking s'mores, the idea was better than the result. But we'll get into that
Yeah, yeah.
in a minute. Instead of talking about the let's talk about the ah.
I mean, okay.
So what does work? What works?
I would say it relatively efficiently sets up who Keith Sutherland is and where he is in his life. So it does the pan around the room and you see the newspaper clipping of the dead police officer. Okay, right, got it, that's him. But then I see I'm saying that, but in a way it does it too efficiently because you're thrown straight into the Hall of Mirrors without even, kind of know. Oh, I find this really hard because I just think it started off on the wrong foot. Let's go from the beginning. So the very first thing is the guy does the thing where you see the guy who's having the problem that your main guy is going to have later. It does that trope.
Your typical horror movie opening diff, where someone dies to tell you, the audience, here's what's up. They typically die in a gory fashion, and they're not really connected to the actual main story.
I don't mind that. I've seen it done sometimes, and it's come back quite a lot later. And I'm a bit of a sucker for, no, that's why they did that. But this doesn't give you time to have that at all. It's just like, right, got that? Right. Well, this is it now. I'm struggling to think of what I liked about it. It's nothing to do with the writing. It's so fucking green. It's so green. I almost couldn't look at it, but I had to try and look at it because that's the whole purpose of doing this podcast. I'm struggling here, mate. I knew you were going to ask me, and I think I'm generally quite fair. The first time I watched it, I'll be honest, I actually turned it off after 10 minutes. So that tells you a lot. So no, I just don't think it does anything very well.
Look, I love a film with a hook, and this film, I think, has a good hook. Ghosts in the mirror.
Okay, very briefly. Are they ghosts? What the fuck
No,
are
they're
they?
demons. It's demons. Yeah, it's the film is super unclear.
Like that scene at the beginning, there was a couple of horrible scenes, like the sister death. It was horrible. I really didn't enjoy looking at it. I was like, really, really, how and why, and how far away do you have to get from the demon mirror, ghost mirror before it doesn't count anymore? Because the child, the boy, he's fucked, right? Because that demon's about to fuck him up, and then the mother goes, "Just don't think about it anymore," and then the demon just leaves him alone. But what is it? Again, referencing Ring. Ring does the same thing, doesn't it? The two girls, both versions of the Ring, the two girls, this is what's going on, deliberately doesn't show you. And then it kind of flash shows you later on. So the setup, if you want to be very generous, the basic, sorry, I've taken over here. The basic setup, that's fine. But you drop the ball immediately about what it is we can expect from this threat. Sorry.
No, well said, well said. The setup I can't argue with because on paper it is legitimately interesting. Security guard with a messy past starts seeing shit in the mirrors of a place he works at. And that place is a grand, huge, burnt out tomb. That on paper,
Yeah.
the hook gets me right there.
Yeah, elevator pitch. And if you threw in the name Kiefer Sutherland, as you say, in 2007, let's say six, when they were thinking about it, yeah, you can see why it got made.
I like the info dump of the department store. Like, it's the scene where the one old guard walks the new recruit through, filling him in. You've seen it before, but it's simple enough and visually informative. Kiefer's looking around. That is not too heavy-handed.
That's kind of what I meant. It's more effectively done than a lot of stuff where, it cuts to a TV screen.
10 dead in a department store. Like,
it didn't do that. The one thing I quickly want to point out is that actor, the old man actor, he's a very, very British actor. He's in quite a few things, actually.
Great voice, great voice. And when I saw it, I was like, how has he been cast? Like, how did that? I'd like to know the story. I'd like to make a film about how he ended up getting cast in this. I can't understand how it's happened. That's the film I want to see.
I also thought the first night scene was really solid. Now, every story of this type has one of these things, a first night, where it's a scene to gently hint at the shit the audience already knows. It's stuff that you normally see in a trailer. It's the scene that's kind of needed to nudge the main character from
This is bullshit.
to like,
I'm starting to believe.
Yeah, yeah.
and typically a lot of horror movies have a first night scene. This is a good one from, he's in the trailer. He gets out of the trailer with his little long flashlight stick thing and just starts walking through. And it's just Kiefer walking through. And it works quite well. And then there's the handprints going up the mirror. That's cool. The door opening, going downstairs. And then that's it. That showed a lot of restraint.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
That made me believe, oh, okay, this is going to be something good. Another thing I really liked, horror fans who have seen this movie, everyone points to the bathtub scene that you mentioned.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the practical effects on display are incredibly graphic. Now, Aja is famous for High Tension, which is a movie that had an incredibly graphic.
Not the Japanese version of High Tension, which always confuses me. Okay, yeah.
This director's French film that kind of put him on the map, High Tension, is famous for the twisty, turny plot, but also the high gore graphic scenes. So when he came to America, his first movie was The Hills Have Eyes. Oof. Because Wes Craven said to him, yep, go for it. This is his second Hollywood movie, and the same hallmarks are there. He really focuses, for the most part, on practical effects. It's a bit sad because you've talked about it, and I want to talk about it as well. The sister's death, does it need to happen? Yes, it does, because the movie is boring as shit. But the rules haven't been established. So I assume wherever he goes, whoever he interacts with, the ghosts can get.
Wherever he goes.
Because he goes home. He meets the wife.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And his kids. The detective friend that he has, he never visits the detective friend. He never gets in the detective friend's car. And the detective friend never actively tries to stop something from happening. Whereas I think the reason the sister gets killed is because she suggests to him, hey, how about you quit the job? And the ghosts don't like that.
The demon doesn't like it, Brad.
I'm saying ghosts.
Well, that's the thing. It would be much better if it was ghosts or anything else.
And we'll get into that. Yes. So everyone kind of points to that scene as being the most famous scene from the movie, and rightly so. It's a very shocking, vivid scene. But for me, I'd say my favorite scene, and it stuck with me since when I saw it in 2008, it's the burning woman in the changing rooms. I find that, even just thinking about it, gets the hairs up on the back of my neck, because it builds with him being alone, and then suddenly the screaming, and he's trying to locate her. He's trying to find her. He's trying to help her.
Oh, yeah.
And then the silence. And then, it's got me. And then he sees the arm, and he goes in there, and there's nothing in there, and he moves the mirror. Yes, I love it when characters do shit that I would personally do. Like, wait a minute, I could see it in that mirror. I've been in that room. There's nothing there. I'm going to fucking move this mirror. And he does that. And it's very scary and very graphic, and it's cool. I love that moment. And then that ghost, that demon, is in the kid's room, and the kid is just staring at it. God, I wish the film had that much bite and gas in the tank.
Well, that's the weird thing about it, is like the scenes you mentioned, it suddenly revs right up, if we're going to use that analogy. But it's just flaccid, isn't it? Badly edited as well, can I say? Really fucking badly edited. That scene you mentioned, the first scene, again, whenever we're doing this, I have to try and break my brain up. Yeah, writing-wise, it's definitely in the right place. The way it's done is relatively effective, but it jumps out of that scene. Cannot wait to get away from that sequence. And you mentioned as well how, this is not really relevant to anything, but how beautiful his wife is, almost to the, like, AI beautiful his wife is. which is weird. Well, it's not weird. People are allowed to be beautiful. But it is sort of weird. I don't know why. It's distracting.
Paula Patton plays his wife, and she's a very gorgeous human being. The film knows it because the film constantly puts her in low-cut tops or tight clothes, which, of course, any woman is more than welcome to wear it. But in the context of the scene, maybe it's a guy thing. I found it distracting.
It hints at kind of muddled thinking. This sounds very trite and probably a bit silly, but it sort of says to me they don't know who that character is in a weird way. Because wardrobe is part of it. It's something we don't talk about very often, but how a character is dressed and when it's done well, it fits and it clicks. You know, obviously, like very, very obvious example would be Doctor Who. Let's talk about Doctor Who again. But the costume that they give the Doctor is so important and they know it. But that's a shining obvious example, but it is a thing. See, to me, this film doesn't really know what it wants to be. And probably the reason people talk about the sister death is like, the fuck's that doing here? And I was really quite disgusted by it. And one reason probably is because like I couldn't believe it was happening in this film at that time in this film. And again, got to go back to The Ring. Look at the way The Ring parcels out its deaths. And you said boring as shit, and I agree, it definitely fucking is. But, you know, original Ring, it isn't. And why isn't it? Because the nuts and bolts of it aren't that different. It's just it parcels out the mystery and it's got that fantastic video. So it's got the intrigue. This would like to have an intriguing, and it does have, very similar to The Ring, especially the American Ring. He does fuck off to go and try and work out. I'm skipping right ahead very briefly. Brad would rather I didn't do this, everyone. But unfortunately, Brad knows who I am as a person. So he goes off and does that investigating. So what I would say, all right, I'll try and rein it in. It set it up. It's too quick. I think he goes there a couple of nights. That's that, right? That's a fucked up place. And that's over pretty quickly. And then the pacing of when the sister death happens, I think it happens too late. I'm sorry to be vague about it. It should happen a bit earlier. And then he goes into manic mode with his family, which I understand. And then he goes off to try and work out, what does this word mean? Let's go and interview the guy who was the first person affected that I found out. And, you know, he follows the breadcrumbs and all that. It doesn't commit to that either. And is he all right to leave his family just wandering around? And as he puts it, there are mirrors everywhere. Like the bit where he's, sorry, very briefly before I forget, when the water's on the ground.
The waters have reflections.
It's like, oh yeah, because not just mirrors, is it? It's any reflective fucking surface. Would the ghost jump out the kettle if the kettle was shiny? Or the toaster? It's such an embarrassing line because they realise, oh fuck, it's a scrambled egg film. It doesn't commit to anything. It doesn't do any of its component parts well. It does things that you'd expect it to do at the wrong time and badly.
I love it. It's so good.
It's frustrating because you are right. You're basically right. It's a frustrating film. It's not a dead loss film, which I think makes it even worse.
It's interesting that we both wanted more from this movie. I mean,
yeah.
I get the feeling from this film it was just something to put out. I can picture a disaffected studio executive being like,
We need a horror movie. What's a name?
Yeah.
Kiefer Sutherland. Great. 24 is huge. Awesome. What's it gonna be? Ghosts. Yep. Make it an R1. Here's your budget. Go.
And on that note, it is successful. The movie did well. You know, it was made for 35 million, brought in 80 million plus. I gotta say, I do like that. I like a $20 to $30 million.
$30, yeah. True.
I love a movie that has a chance of making its money back. This made more money than Renfield did.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, you've pulled that nugget of gold from your analogy, is that at least it's a mid to low budget for that kind of film. But why does it have to be so fucking shit?
This episode is sponsored by what else? Bradley Freeman's book Momon Matsu, The Director's Cut, available on Amazon right now in ebook, hardcover, and paperback. It's all about an old man approaching retirement and the ghost of a high school girl. And together the two come together, not in that way, but they become friends and learn to support each other. Meanwhile, sinister dark forces threaten to tear them apart. Saltier than Mark Tasker's nipples, peppier than my pug's curly tail, and is more emotional than me watching a Studio Ghibli movie by myself in the dark. Momoamatsu, the director's cut, available now at a very low price on Amazon. Go check it out. Okay, back to the show. Yes, we can't escape mirrors and neither can you. So then, what was the first mistake the film made, writing-wise? And I feel, sadly, it's a mix of Kiefer himself. Anytime I say Kiefer, my teeth get in the way. I feel it's a mix of Kiefer himself and the character he's playing. To me, he never comes across like a detective.
No, he doesn't at all. At all.
I don't get that affectation. I don't get the focus,
No.
which is weird because, 24, but not in this movie. No, I mean, sure, I get that cops are human and anyone is going to run fucking screaming from mirror ghosts, but I don't know, a cop, a detective at that? Like I said before, like I want a character in a movie that does tests. Like, for example, he gets scared by the burning woman, and the next night, what happens if this mirror is bent or the surface is like a convex, or like how far back can I, like what is the limit of these fucking things? I feel a cop would have a bit of that in them where they'd be like, well, this is fucked up, but what are the limits?
Exactly. You never, ever. Exactly. You could have done with, like, even the lead character from Longlegs. If she was in this, you'd have a bit of,
yeah.
And all right, I know it doesn't want to be that kind of film, but the problem is it leaves the audience like, but what the fuck are the rules? I hate to keep harping on about Ring. We know what the fucking rules are. And all right, there's some conjecture about, there are little bits you can pick or it follows, or, we've talked a lot about these, Smile or whatever. Smile has a couple of problems, but this just has so many issues. And all right, Keanu himself doesn't know. I know that, but he doesn't try and know.
It's just mirrors. There are mirrors everywhere.
Not Keanu, it's Kiefer.
Sorry, whatever his fucking name is.
Although I gotta say, if Keanu was in this movie, it'd still be just as bad.
Controversial take. I know you like him. I think Kiefer Sutherland should have retired after Stand By Me. His performance in that is fucking amazing. And I would have loved a parallel universe where we never saw him again after that. Could you imagine? We never saw him again. It would have been incredible. Everyone would have been like, God, do you remember that guy? Oh my word, do you remember that? Anyway, just my flight of fancy there. Not to say other stuff he's done is not good, but
I've seen all of 24, and throughout Kiefer does the same where he's just, damn it! He's constantly saying, damn it! So he'll be talking like, I would like a caramel latte, damn it! It's great for a shorthand, but I just watched another film with him in it last week, The Kane Mutiny Court Martial, which was the last film directed by William Friedkin. In that, Kiefer is putting on a voice. He's putting on kind of like an interesting walk. And during one tense scene, you see a man believably melt down, shoot himself in the foot by what he's saying.
Right.
When that scene ends, you're like, that is why he was in this movie.
Yeah.
That's an actor. None of that is in this movie.
Like, maybe I should clarify. I'm not saying everything he's done since has been bad. It's just like, it's funny, Stand By Me, I recommended it to a friend. Sutherland in that film, he's in the bit when he's looking from under the porch, isn't he? And then he comes in and he's this threat. And he plays that scene so... The thing is about him, when he's quiet, he's so good. Anyway, that's irrelevant. Irrelevant to what we're talking about.
I noticed in this movie, Kiefer's character of Ben, he reacts and reacts, but when he has this, there's a slight parenting boundary argument with his wife.
Yeah.
It's like he's just saying stuff to fill in the audience and not actually turn her around. A lot of what the character says feels like it's being said to the audience. A real person would not be saying this, or would not be reacting like this. Later, there's a moment where he looks at himself in a mirror and says, "What is happening to yourself, Ben? Pull yourself together." No, the character is a fuck up, but the film and the character himself don't push his face in the mud enough. Kiefer can do it. And I guess the film just never wanted to go there, but you can really make this character a real mess of a human being.
Mm-hmm.
You know, have him be a terrible person and it would make the movie better. But like, I hate to compare, but once upon a time in Hollywood, when DiCaprio playing Rick Dalton, he goes into his trailer and he loses his shit.
Yeah.
It's now quite a famous scene. And he's crying and he's swearing and he's throwing crap around the trailer. He's threatening himself. That's pure. You believe that character. That character is angry at himself. He's a mess of emotion. But in this movie, Kiefer's talking to the mirror and saying, pull yourself together. No, none of that is here. So it doesn't work.
Quite early on in the film, he had the argument with his estranged wife. I guess we'd say estranged. It's appalling. It's appalling. Like the way it builds up, and it's so bad. It's just so bad. And it's trying to set up this dynamic between them. Obviously, this is why he's like this. Is why he has to keep going back. He's got to make money. He's got an estranged family. Blah, 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 blah. But that is appallingly written and appallingly acted. And anyone who's ever had relationship issues, it's just like, this is fucking fake. And nothing about this makes any sense. And the whole, when do I have to get permission to see him on his birthday or whatever he says? Like, I was going to write it down. Like, my intention was, I was watching it, I'll make notes of this. But I just thought, why expend the energy? They haven't expended the energy writing it. So I'm not going to expend the energy fucking talking about it or analyzing it. It's just, yeah, exactly. This is my problem with it. It's what I was saying earlier. It's like, go for it somewhere, commit to it somewhere, make it work somewhere. You haven't made it work anywhere. It falls on all of what it's trying to do. You just said it very well. It doesn't work here because they haven't committed to that. Kiefer, what did he actually do wrong? His partner died. See, I couldn't even fucking follow it. His partner's died and he's suspended because he didn't do something he should have done or whatever as an officer, as a detective, right? Is that right?
Mm.
The thing is, if he's suspended, he'd be getting money anyway. I mean, wouldn't he? I don't think he'd be on like fucked street. How long has he been suspended for? How quickly have things fall apart with his wife? He says, you didn't stand by me. And she said, I did. But how long has it been? Like, it doesn't ring true is what I'm trying to get at here.
And you can tell it doesn't ring true because the Twilight Zone-ish ending is hollow. It's like,
oh yeah, the ending. Oh,
you're supposed to feel a gut punch. Like, oh, what? Instead, you're just like, yep, you kind of deserve it. And now you're never going to see your son again, you piece of shit.
Does he deserve it?
I mean, yeah.
Again, it hasn't even done that well. Make him deserve it. Put him in the mirror universe, which again, so does that mean now he's the demon?
No, he's just dead.
So then the people in the mirror are ghosts then? Puppet masters by the
I have
demon.
no fucking clue.
You know
anymore.
what I mean? Because I think
Mark, this is a movie where a demon punches Kiefer Sutherland through a brick wall.
Why did they do that?
Why'd they do it? Because that's what the director and writer wanted. Apparently, the studio, like that, they shot that ending, and then the studio politely asked to shoot a different ending. Something the director he's quoted as saying they wanted something a bit more Sixth Sense-y. I don't know what that means, but apparently that's what he wanted to go with, and that's what they went with.
Let's briefly, if you don't mind, because we're almost getting to the point where we can talk about the nun, right?
Yes.
Can you summarize it for me? I got a bit lost. She's become a nun because these horrible things happen to her. Give me the setup and I'll explain what I'm trying to say.
When the nun, something Essaker, when she was a little girl, she was basically plagued, as we find out later, plagued by a demon. She was possessed.
Mm-hmm.
And they locked her. The family locked her downstairs in the basement and they fed her through the door or whatever. A doctor came along, figured out how to cure her of this malaise. And what this doctor did is basically took her to a facility, strapped her to a chair, surrounded her by a bunch of mirrors, and did some weird movie shit. Apparently, what that did is it removed the demon,
right,
or the demons or the ghosts, whatever the fuck, into the mirrors. And then the girl was cured. So then The girl becomes a nun.
But in order for these demons, ghosts to fuck off, he needs to get this poor fucking woman to go back into that room. And that scene where he's like, "You're gonna have to do it, love." And it's like, what about my family? And that was a really weird and uncomfortable scene. And then she does, and he's like, "Yeah, you fucking should be doing it. Sit over there." And I was watching it like, well, first of all, you don't have a clue if that's going to work. Obviously, that goes without saying. And then this poor fucking woman has to have this whatever it is back in her again. And then he has that stupid fight with her, which
once the witch, ghost, woman, demon thing punched him through the brick wall, I actually on my phone put on the Mortal Kombat soundtrack.
Mortal Kombat!
And it was so much better. It was fucking awesome. Just Kiefer beating the shit out of a demon. Yeah, go Kiefer. I really don't feel anyone gives a shit in this movie.
This maybe explains why I'm frustrated. You've been able to make it. You've got a relative amount of control. You've received a reasonable budget. And yet you, at no level, you haven't got anything really right. You've got broad strokes right, maybe, but you've not really got anything right. And it's frustrating when you know there are so many filmmakers or wannabe filmmakers who are itching and like, give me the chance. And you just think, you fucking, it's frustrating. It's just frustrating. I think that's why I'm having this reaction. It's just, I'm frustrated by it.
At this point of the podcast, the next section is what we like to call, why do you think they made the story choices they did? Well, we can really boil the section down quite easily. And it's just the director and the writer, they looked at the South Korean horror movie and they've gone on record as saying that it didn't appeal to them. They didn't feel anything. So they just took the basic concept and made their own version. And it seems as though they were much more interested in talking about mirrors as a concept, not as a threat. Aren't mirrors cool? Aren't mirrors interesting? Aren't mirrors something that we all have in our lives? And they didn't go much beyond there.
Thing is, I mean, there is something to be said. I don't know if you've read much Lacan, but Lacan talks about the mirror phase in childhood and how important that is, and it separates us from the beasts. I'm paraphrasing. I'm sorry for anyone that likes Lacan, but there's a lot of interesting things to be said, but they do a very bad job of showing or developing those thoughts in any way. And the thing is, as well, it's disappointing because he's French. It's not even pretentious. Like, give me pretentious. I like pretentious.
Something that I'm sure mates are sick of hearing me talk about. This film is humorless. That's another, nail in the coffin for me, because it's just a bit of humor would have really helped. Christ, even the movie Seven has humorous moments.
Yeah.
When your film is just this murk.
Yeah, murk. Yeah.
Moving on, does it try to add anything new to the genre? I would say screenplay-wise, no. It is every other horror, supernatural horror you've seen, right down to the dull as fuck mystery that needs to be solved, or like the jaded cop and the screaming demonic baddie. Jesus, when this poor nun does become infected, possessed by one entity or a billion of them, I don't know, you'd think, oh, what's she going to look like? Well, she just looks like every other horror movie hag you've seen, from Army of Darkness to fucking this or that. Her clothes are torn, her face is kind of Freddy Krueger-ish, and she just basically just shakes her head really fast for the camera and screams. That's about it.
Going back to Ring, yeah, why not? And maybe it's not fair to say the main reason, but a massive contributing factor is the reason why that works is because the design of Sadako is incredible. And the reveal of her and the design of her and the way she comes about is incredible. Now, let's imagine that they'd used the design from Mirrors as the design for Sadako. The film would be fucking ruined, because it is so important to get that. If you're going to do it, I would argue they should never have done it, because it hasn't been set up. There's no anticipation for this hag because we don't fucking know what it is. Hag comes out. There's been no build up to it. Jump scare, question mark.
Climbing on the walls like a cockroach.
These noises are more disturbing than anything in the film. So again, I'm thinking screenplay wise, right? You haven't set it up. So even though the design is shit, doesn't matter anyway, because we weren't waiting for it. We didn't know it was going to happen. So if you're going to do a jump scary thing, probably make it shorter just make it bang and over. But you kind of drag out into, as you said, this Mortal Kombat style fight, which doesn't fit the film at all. So again, another horrible, horrible mistread. Even if that design had been the best designed villain of all time, hasn't been built up. We didn't know it was coming, so we don't care. Like Barbarian, you've seen Barbarian, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You know, the design of that
Mm-hmm.
hag
Mm-hmm.
and the way that hag is presented is divisive, I would say, but interesting. They took an interesting swing with her.
But that is character. When she first reveals herself, it's quite frightening. Like that
Yeah,
really got me. Like, oh fuck.
In the tunnel, yeah.
But then
It's a character.
the movie
Yeah.
continues, and you find out it's a character. That's a film that cares.
It's way too late in Mirrors to introduce anything. Way too late.
Yes, true. Yeah.
Event Horizon, you basically set up what Sam Neill's going to be. It's still a surprise, but then you develop it a little bit more compared to this. I'm not saying
I'm not so lenient on Event Horizon, where Sam Neill turns into basically walking spam. And it's like, where the fuck did that come from, spam man?
at least it's been built up to, you've gone through this, you've seen him, and it's done the surprise anyway. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, again, it's just not thought through, no heart.
Next section. Why isn't it as good as other films? This we normally leave for prequels and sequels. The only tidbit I have for you, Mark, is stupid and useless. Fun fact: the unrated DVD of Mirrors 2, yes, Mirrors 2, if you turn it over to the other side, it plays the original South Korean movie. And that is the only way it was physically released in the US. So if you wanted to track down the actual South Korean Into the Mirror film and you wanted to watch it on DVD, the only way you can get it is by buying the unrated Mirrors 2.
Which is a film that they threw away anyway when they made the first one because they didn't find it very interesting. And now you've put it on the back end of the sequel. It's got to be a first, isn't it? Right. Okay. So good. Next.
Screaming, hurtling towards the end. What scenes would make this better? We always give the same kind of recommendation, right? Keep it simple. So I would stay in the department store. I would never leave that set. So basically, let's say there are 3 nights, and make up some rule, like make up some fucking countdown rule or something. Ring had 7 days. Give this 3 nights. The 3rd night, he is locked in, and the ghosts start coming for him. Fuck, add his son. That 3rd night, for some reason, his son sneaks in, and now his son is on the line. A lot of cops do double work to make ends meet anyway, especially if there's a divorce and a mountain of school bills. So have him be a fucking cop, but have him be a cop. If you need a female lead, or if you want to keep the sister or the Paula Patton wife around, why not have her killed to really kind of make everyone's life this horrific, nasty nightmare, and then have her ghost be in the building trying to protect the son, just to keep some kind of emotional through line.
Yeah.
I would have had Kiefer start the film being the worst dad ever. Like, he doesn't talk to this kid, doesn't want to be a dad, doesn't acknowledge the kid. And by the end of the movie, he's fighting for the kid's life. As an arc, spoilers, he fails. He still fucking dies, but the kid makes it out.
Yeah.
Boil it down to its basic element. No demon. I am sick to death. Here's my soapbox. I'm sick to death of American supernatural horror always being a fucking demon. Paranormal Activity, it's in the title. Paranormal Activity. It's a ghost. No, it's a demon. Oh, fuck no. Just make it a ghost. Ghosts are enough. Demons, I don't know why, but that's a whole rung higher. Well, a demon, I don't know. A demon I get this image of like cunning and thought and torture. A ghost, I get this entity that wants to just make life miserable for unknowable reasons.
I think the reason for demon is that you can add a purposeful malevolence. You can give it a kind of agency or a plan. Even if this film doesn't bother explaining what the fucking plan is, you've got your cake, you can eat it, you can vomit it back up again. You know, I just think they think it's more flexible. But yeah, I think as a pure ghost story, this would work an awful lot better. I definitely agree with you. I'd struggle in here, mate. I just can't see what the point of it is.
I feel as though the point of it was just to fill a slot in the studio's schedule.
Well, because I have been, since we started this, I've been saying I want to do the Ring remake because I just think there's so much to say about A, why was it done, but B, how it deviated, what it tried to deviate. And I think there's it's quite an interesting, I don't think it works brilliantly, but if you only saw the remake of The Ring and hadn't seen the original, I think you'd have a lot better time than this. I felt a bit sad. I felt sad for Kiefer. I just thought like, oh God. First frustrated and then sad.
It's funny you mention Sadako, or Samara as she's known in America, because Rings 2 is not good. Or no, The Ring 2 is not good. Rings is not good. The Japanese, Ringu 2, not good. Spiral or Loop, not good. Or Sadako, not good. Or Ring Zero. Like, no. She only works twice, and both times are in the original films.
Yep.
After that, like you're saying, the design is fantastic. The design stops working immediately. It's got nothing at all to do with mirrors. Having the ghosts, having the demon want something. Essaker.
Yeah.
It's never interesting.
What does it want it for?
Closest I can think of is the thing wants to get back inside the girl, so then it can physically affect things.
It follows Kiefer around in mirrors. Like, what sort of a plan is that? Like, again, it's like, I think you're right, but it's like, that's the way it's going about it. Oh, so now it is thinking, but originally I thought it was just being a bit of a prick. But now, no, it's got a plan and it's got an energy so that it can have a physical form, a la Ghostbusters 2.
But the real prick turns out to be Kiefer, who puts a gun to a nun's head and says,
yeah, true, yeah.
Fuck you, bitch.
Yeah.
You die so that my family lives.
We've spent a long time talking about something that's so terrible. I know what that says about us.
Everyone, you have survived Mirrors. You quite enjoyed me spiraling off into the deep end for Sphere, Mark. I quite enjoyed watching you just you've just had enough. You've had enough of this fucking movie, and it was great to see.
When we started this, we were going mid. And I am not saying this film is atrocious. I'm not putting it in the, we're not doing these films are all terrible. And I hope it does come across that it's more frustrating, really, that there are things in it. You could see how this could have been better, is what I'm trying to say, which is the level of film we're going for. But it's just so irritating,
I maintain that the worst cinema experience I ever had was when I went to see Elektra, for the sole reason that movie is very similar to Mirrors, and that I felt no one gave a fuck. It was the most average. It didn't try to succeed at anything. It was just, I was so dejected because you and I have seen fucking awful movies.
Yeah.
But even fucking awful movies try to reach for that brass ring.
Yeah, I think maybe that's it. Maybe that's what I'm frustrated about. Yeah, reach for it. A little aside here, which you can cut out or you can put somewhere else, is I think the worst cinema experience I ever had was Revolutionary Road. Have you seen that? The reason it was the worst experience was it's about like the breakup of a relationship, basically, right? And I was definitely going through it with the girl I was watching it with. And neither of us really wanted to admit that's what was happening. But watching the film really like spelled it out. They might as well just be going, this is you. This is you. And it was, and I remember leaving just thinking, oh, fuck. Like it was really a horrible... Generally speaking, I don't go to cinema unless I'm fairly convinced I'm going to like it. I'll be honest. I feel quite proud of myself that I really don't think I've wasted that much money. I've been disappointed in things, but I've never gone into it.
Wait a minute. You mean to tell me that when you were, a preteen, teenager, shit, I saw everything.
I'm just
romantic comedy, a drama. If it was on at the cinemas, I went and saw it.
Well, someone had money, mates.
Someone had no fucking friends.
And well, maybe that was it. I was so popular, I didn't even know. Right, thank you very much, Brad.
No, mates, thank you all. I feel like I want to apologize.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Well, fuck you.
To me, first and foremost.
What a hell of a way to end it. I can't promise the next episode's going to be any better, but you may as well listen to it because What else you got to fucking do with your
Yeah,
life?
there are no other podcasts, so keep listening to this one.
Because we're so enthusiastic.
Yeah, yeah. That's a reason to listen. That's a reason to listen, I think.
Will they get more apathetic as they go on? Who knows? We have to find out.
Hey, apathy is a currency. I don't think you should diminish it.
Next episode, we're tackling an unlikely movie in Enemy of the State. That's right, the Gene Hackman and Will Smith techno thriller from the 90s. I hadn't seen it since the 90s, whereas apparently Mark was a huge fan. Who would have guessed? I wouldn't. I tell you what, listen to this clip. This clip actually has nothing to do with Enemy of the State, but in the episode that we recorded, I made myself laugh so hard, I peed myself. Yes, confirmed here on the podcast. This episode coming up, I had a shitty throwaway joke I just threw in there about Sandra Bullock, and then I spiraled, and I peed myself. So you can't see it happening, but here, have a listen. Tech thrillers like this, and here's a movie I bet you haven't thought of in a while. Sandra Bullock's The Net.
Are you asking if I've thought about it for a while? Because
Yeah.
I remember what happened.
You lay awake at night with your wife and you're like, honey, Sandra Bullock at The Net.
I always get that confused with the Jennifer Lopez. What's that one called? What's it called?
I just picturing you at night. Go to sleep, honey. I can't. I'm thinking about Sandra Bullock in The Net.
To be fair, it's not. There are things less likely that I would think about. The J-Lo film I was thinking of. This has all gone horribly wrong. You're going to have to edit this. You're laughing now. You won't be laughing when you're editing it. I'm trying to find... What's the name of that Jennifer Lopez film?
See, mates, look at the glory that you get in your ears for not even $1 a day. You don't have to pay for that kind of audio quality. You can be like, man, for free, I get the privilege of hearing Brad pee himself laughing. It's all that and more on Written Off, and it's all that and more in our next episode, Enemy of the State, coming, as always, in 2 weeks. Seriously, thank you very much, everyone, for watching. It's been, I wouldn't say it's been great, but it has been. We'll catch you for the next one. Until then, stay safe, and for God's sake, clean that fucking mirror. You know what I'm talking about? That smudge, that bit of, I don't know what it is, that bit of like liquid, that dry, crusty thing on there. Just fucking clean that mirror, dude. It's well past it. Come on.
Or paint over it.
Damn it!
Written Off is hosted by me, Bradley Freeman, and Mark Tasker. It's produced by the both of us, and it's edited by me. Our theme music is by Skane, and our artwork is by Sketchfro. This has been a Pugnacious Podcast production.